Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from our comfy couch here on the outskirts of the internet. This is the Gaming Saloon Reviews for October 24th, 2021. With your host, Beastbreaker2448, and Ramp It Up Salon.
Hi.
I thought that was the one from yesterday for some stupid reason.
I'm not even going to point the timestamp out.
I know, I saw the timestamp and I'm like, oh fuck, that is the one from today. What am I doing? I can't read. But we got more Dino as we slowly chip away at the show. I'm gonna find it hilarious when we wrap up Dino the series and then Shout Factory's like, hey, by the way, here's Ryuki. And I'm like, at least you timed it right for us.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be that lucky though.
No. It's going to happen before we finish Dino.
Yeah. Because I think at this point, we're probably not hitting all of the post-series movies.
I mean, that's alright, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we got episodes 33 through 36 this week as we introduce ourselves to the new actress playing Hana. So, any thoughts before we hit the recaps?
No.
All right, then we're going to kick off with episode 33, Time Traveler Kohana. So, as we have Owner explain to us what was implied last week of Zeronos's cards erase the memories of people who know him or who remember him in order to make him transform. And that's a finite amount of memories. So when those are all used up, oh look, nobody remembers him anymore. So Ryotaro is calling the girl from like the first part of the show. And we find out that she can't remember Sakurai either. So, yeah. Also, you know how I explained Deno's time travel rules? Because I was like, oh, there's an episode that explains that.
Yes.
Fucking a week early.
Yep.
Because these are the exact episodes I was thinking of. When I was like, they explained Deno's time travel at some point.
But it also... Okay, it explains it, but it also creates question marks, too.
Okay.
Because of a thing that happens in the first two episodes, at the end of the first two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of more leads all the way around there.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. We effectively get to see what happens when, you know, we don't fix everything. In the first two episodes here. And the logic behind why that happened causes a problem with Yuto's situation. In my opinion, at least.
I think the case with Yuto is that he's a singularity point, so it's not hitting him the same way.
But the thing that's implied in the last two episodes, whether they meant for that to be the thing or not,
yeah,
the thing that was implied regardless, though, kind of points towards singularity points could disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I didn't have to question, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Our guy from the first two-parter,
yeah,
that disappears because no one remembers him.
Yep.
We have two people that actually know of him. and know of his backstory. Would that not count enough?
Maybe? That's the weird part where I'm like, there has to be something with singularity points that, like, prevent them from being able to be the one, but like, also be some sort of stabilization point.
Like, I might could get it if it's a case of you've effectively got like tiers. You've got everyone else in a singularity point kind of deal.
Yeah.
And the only ones that are important for other singularity points is adjacent to them kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with everyone else, it has to be the same with them.
Yeah.
I could see if it's a case of, like, we've got that little tiered division concept there.
Mm-hmm.
Where it doesn't really matter if a singularity point remembers people that aren't singularity points, but they can, but it actually matters if they remember other singularity points.
Mm-hmm. Time travel is weird and complicated.
It's one of those, unless the show goes in and explains something like that, the answer we're getting makes me go, wait a minute.
I don't know if it goes on to explain much more. I know there's a plot point, but it's not... I don't know if it's adjacent to this or not, because we are slowly reaching the point where I honestly don't know. Because I stopped watching the show. We are close to that point at this point.
But yeah. Yeah, I'm puzzled on that because the latter half of it pretty much kind of justifies a reason why Yuto wouldn't disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if we use that answer with the logic that is presented in the show, then why did we have the first one disappear?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's how that would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Because knowing about someone, even without knowing their name, still means that you would remember that person.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah. But let's get through these 2 episodes so that we can delve into this logic a little more. Because back in the episode, on the deadliner, we see that then a new line is being created. And nobody knows what the deal with this line is, outside of it might be Hana's timeline coming back, or it might be the Zero Liner's time, or it might be both.
Because
nobody
that's
knows
how time works. It just randomly shows up.
Yeah. And they can't go into this line because it's not connected to theirs, because it's kind of jutting and spiraling out of the side of a canyon. Which, to be fair, that's not stopped them before.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we're not desperate, so... But at this point, we catch up with Hana, who is walking down a random alleyway until she sees herself in a mirror and sees herself as a small child. She has been de-aged because of this new line that is being introduced. We also bounce around a whole bunch in this episode right here at the start, because then we check in with Yuto and Deneb as they're kind of lounging around, and Deneb's happy that Yuto doesn't have to transform anymore because no more cards, because, oh look, nobody's going to forget you anymore. But then we catch up with Ryotaro as he gets called by Hana to come pick her up, but then he gets stopped by a bunch of assholes that purposely crash into him. But Hana saves him by egging the both of them and then running away. Which makes Ryotaro realize, oh no, small child is Hana! And in this, random piano homeless man, I think he's homeless? I don't know.
At least random piano man.
Yeah. He just shows up at a piano store and starts playing Double Action, which is the battle theme. Well, one version of the battle theme for Den-O. Because technically there are several versions of Double Action, just like there's several versions of Climax Jump. But they're tailored to each of the different forms. Because Double Action is sung by Ryotaro plus whichever Imagine that Double Action song is for. So I think he's just playing the regular version of it, that is Ryotaro and Momotaro's. But he also plays another song from the show to end the first episode. So I don't know why he's playing songs from the show. He just is. Eventually, an Imagine contracts with him, and he wants a piano, so the Imagine goes after it. Deneb follows Piano Man while Yuto goes and informs everyone, which takes us to the Milk Dipper, where Ryotaro and Hana are, and then Ari shows up with the Tweedles. And then Ryotaro's gonna be like, this is Kohana, her little sister, that is randomly here. Don't ask questions, please. So from here on out, I'm just gonna call this person Kohana because, for all intents and purposes, it is. But Yuto drops by. He gets filled in by all of this. Ryotaro heads off to intercept the Imagine. Yuto drops off Kohana on the Den liner with the Zero liner. Deneb ends up following our Piano Man to the hospital, where we see another Piano Man in the hospital in a coma. I like that we get told that he is a Piano Man by random posters of him playing piano in his hospital room, put up by somebody. Because it's not the homeless man. Because the nurse clearly states that he doesn't come in the room. So who the fuck puts up these posters?
That is a very good question.
Mm-hmm. But after he leaves the hospital, he heads to a nearby square. Imagine drops off a piano for him, but he doesn't want to play it. And he also doesn't get the portal open for him for the Imagine to head through. So that leads to Deneb and Ryotaro fighting him. He ends up getting away after a short fight scene, and Kohana meets the crew, who are all baffled by Small Child. That is supposed to be not Smile Child. Which takes us to episode 34, The Time Interval Pianist. So yeah, everyone's confused about this being Hana, because even Bobo's like, this can't be Hana, right? And he tries to talk to her, gets knocked the fuck out, and he's like, nope, it's her. I recognize that punch from anywhere. So Hana is still stupid strong, even though she is Small Child. Because comedy bit, I guess. But we head over to the hospital where they try to get, or where Yuto, Deneb, and Ryotaro try to get information on the patient. They don't get much because all they know is he was in an accident, he's in a coma, they don't know who the homeless man is, and that's the short and long of it. But as we follow Ryotaro with Utaros around, we find out no one knows who Homeless Piano Man is. Literally no one can recall him. Even the people who see him play in the piano store can't recall him. Which feels weird.
Yep.
But okay. But he's over at the hospital when another piano gets dropped off and he starts playing it. And this opens the portal, so the Imagine hops through. He heads back to when he first met the patient, because the two of them met when the patient was going to quit. But then he heard this guy playing. They met, they bonded, he learned from him. He made it big, and he's going to tell Homeless Man about it. Only he got caught up in an accident and got into a coma. So Homeless Man has just, I guess, been wandering around playing random pianos and hoping to play with this guy again one day. But Ditto heads back. We quickly rider kick the monster, except he then blows up into multiple CG monsters that then cause havoc. So we have to call in all the trains to handle it, except in the midst of the chaos, these two people get caught up in the debris, and we see them disappear along with several other people. But once the monsters are destroyed, everything goes back to normal, except Homeless Piano Man doesn't come back. Because since no one remembers him, there's nothing tethering him to the timeline, so he's kind of swept away. Because if no one remembers him, then there's nothing of consequence if he disappears, essentially. Especially, granted, the one person who will remember him is currently in a coma, so I guess that doesn't count. But Ryotaro is sad about this until we see him get on the Denliner with a ticket, and I checked the footage on this. The ticket he has, the date on it, is the same date the Imagine goes back. So his ticket is the day he disappeared.
But wouldn't it also kind of have implications going forward, though?
I think it's a case of it doesn't matter because the guy's in a coma.
But, okay, would that not also change the fact that people know the guy in the coma as this big piano genius?
Fair.
Because, I mean, if it has been that long, I could completely see people being like, oh, well, he was something at one point, not anymore.
Right. I think it's a case of everything happened, but he's just not there anymore. But as soon as this guy wakes up and remembers him, he'll just poof back into existence. I think that's how Deno logic works. Because they point out how the Denliner, like all these random people we keep seeing on the Denliner every now and again, they're people who get lost in time when shit like this happens, and they just get off the train, I guess, when someone remembers them. Presumably. Although, this guy boarded with a ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we see someone with the rider pass before?
That I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I swear I think we've seen someone with a rider pass like in an early episode instead of a ticket, unless you exchange the ticket for a rider pass eventually, and that's your means of getting, I guess, on and off the train wherever the train stops, since this guy was in an actual station. I might be trying to think too hard about this.
Probably.
And that might be a bad thing. But yeah, that explains why we've seen random people on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Deno's time travel logic works.
And that also poses a problem.
Yeah. Because it's time travel.
You know, the problem that I mentioned.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I think it's a case of time travel is complicated, and unless we write down everything, there's gonna be holes. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm willing to let it go. At least for the moment. But anything else for those 2 episodes? Yeah. So we'll hit our second half then, since it follows up on all the Yuto stuff. Kind of. Most of it does. Except for the end of the second episode. So we pick up with episode 35, Tragic Resurrection, Card 0. We see Ryotaro out and about, pondering recent events, and he's wanting to become stronger to ensure no one else gets swept away from time, even though that's probably been happening all season and nobody's noticed till now.
Probably.
But this is where Kintaros is helping him train by standing under a waterfall, which doesn't seem to be helping. But at least it's better than what Momotaros and Utaros were trying to do, where Momotaros was trying to get him into a fight with random gangs, and Utaros was hitting on several women at the same time. So
a normal Tuesday?
Yes. I don't know who thought either one of them would be useful in this scenario.
I mean, yeah. Of course, when your options are Hibernating Bear, Rage-Fueled Person, and Loverboy, I mean, you kind of don't have much of an option.
Yeah, because Goblin Child is out automatically in this scenario. Even though we've reined him in a good bit.
I mean, let's be fair. We could have actually threw Goblin Child in there, but do we really want to see him murder someone?
Fair. That also was not going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not super helping because Kintaros is also confused of why do you want to become stronger? Without really elaborating on why he's questioning that, but we gotta take half the episode to get there. So he ends up taking Ryotaro to a local dojo, which ends up being that same dojo from his debut episodes, and they even point that out for him to fight them. Except he ends up causing a scene, and then they have to run away because, oh no, this was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
But back over to the Zero liner. Older Sakurai drops by with more cards for Yuto. And Dedub is like, no, this is a terrible decision. I will not allow this, because he doesn't want Yuto to be alone, I guess. Or lost from time? I don't know.
Yes.
One of those two. But meanwhile, Kentaros talks to Ryotaro, just going, no, you don't need to be stronger. You're strong enough as is. It's fine. You have the strength you need already. Because you've been dealing with us all season. If you weren't strong enough, fucking something terrible would have happened by now. If it wasn't the case. Which, fair. But meanwhile, we see a Molamajin have his contract holder beat up one of those people, and that lets him go back in time. Ryotaro and Kintaro see this. They scan the card, head back in time, except it's a trap! Because there's 3 of them! Because say hello to our grunts for Deno. 30 plus episodes into the series. that's kind of the weird thing with the Heisei Phase 1 Rider. There's not a lot of grunts in a lot of the different seasons. I don't know why. But Den-O fights the 3 Molamajin. Doesn't go well, especially when Kentaro seems to be deconnecting from Ryutaro in the past for some reason. But this is when Yuto and Den-O arrives. Yuto decides, well, let's burn some more memories, takes the cards, becomes Zeronos again, blows up one of the moles. And that's the episode, because we then go into episode 36. No possession, no succession, train slash. Ryutaro's on the Zero Liner talking to Yuto. He doesn't like that Yuto's using cards again, so he just takes them and runs. And over on the Den Liner, the Imagine kind of know that they're on a ticking clock now with Ryutaro, and they can't possess him going forward as much as they have, especially, I guess, in the past, because it seems to be a problem in the past rather than in the present, which seems odd because it's time travel. But they're working on a plan B. But Hana ends up with catching up with Ryutaro at the Milk Dipper, and we see that Ari might want to sell the telescope to a random customer that wanted it, and this freaks out Ryutaro because it's like, that telescope means a lot to you, even though she doesn't remember that it does. And eventually, after running off, he runs into Yuto at a bridge. The two of them argue a bit about the whole card situation. Ryutaro finally just realizes, oh, Yuto's willing to sacrifice in order to protect the future and protect people, because Ryutaro can't do this alone. Which is accurate, because last episode kind of proved he can't do this on his own. Not anymore, especially now that we have multiple Imagines that can just gang up on him in a single time period.
Yeah.
So after they're done arguing, we see the two of the Mole Imagines, I think from before, because I didn't bother to check their numbers, because, by the way, all the Mole Imagine have different numbers.
Of course so.
But they start destroying stuff, so Den-O and Zeronos head back. Unfortunately, when they get there, Momo's connection doesn't last long enough, so he ends up disconnecting, leaving Ryutaro in platform. So it's him, Zeronos, and eventually Den-O fighting these two Mole Imagine, and they get fucking demolished. Even with Ryutaro taking Zeronos' sword, not enough. But on the Den Liner, all the Imagine are working on a plan B, which is Ryutaro's making a drawing, because that's how his powers work, I guess. At least in this scenario. Although they said they had Owner's help, but Owner's not in this episode. Not till the end.
But
so I don't
they
know
had
what
his help.
Yeah, I guess. But they're beaten down, even to the point that they're all on the ground. Except Ryutaro does get up and just starts dragging Zeronos' sword. Like, I'll kick your butt somehow, and it gets thrown through the roof of a warehouse. And almost murdered until the Imagine show up. And we initiate plan B of we're going to slam the K-Touch on the belt. Or no, not the K-Touch, the K-Taros. Don't know why I keep mixing those up. The K-Taros on the belt. And we summon the Den Kamen sword, which is a sword with all four of their faces on it. And when you insert the Rider Pass, it transforms Ryutaro into his proper final form, Liner. And with this sword, Ryutaro can access the powers of the four Imagines and talk to them on this little carousel thing in the Den Liner, which... Why do they keep setting stuff up in this dining car?
Because
you
it's
think they
fun.
would?
apparently.
Yeah. Also, they set that up real quick
Yeah.
for just being the 5 of them. Because Kohana is also not on the deadliner for this entire part until after this fight's over. But we decided to just go straight for the finisher with this. So we see liner form's finisher Train Slash, which everyone complains about Ryotro's naming sense. And I just have to look at one of you in particular and go, you have no room to talk, Mr. I don't remember what numbers I've used.
I mean, it's hard to remember that you've used 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Because I noticed after the whole he skipped 4, everything's just been 5.
Also, I'm pretty sure most of your finishers are the same fucking thing, Ryotaro. You're not fooling anyone. Or not Ryotaro, Momotaro's. All of your finishers are the same. You can't fool me.
But they're different numbers.
Yeah. Also, only one other person among you actually names their finisher.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Dynamic Chop is on the same level as Train Slash Kintaro's. You also have no room to talk. Yeah, moles are blown up. Day is saved, but something lurks within the new line that we'll have to wait a while on. So, how did you like liner form as our final form for the series?
I feel like it looked pretty good, actually, all things considering.
I still like both liner and climax together as the final forms, but I will mention this. Toei tends to go back and forth between liner and climax in terms of what's the official final form, because Decade has liner form on complete. But past Decade, climax shows up in all of the films and stuff because we have no Ryutaro. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, because if you remember from Overcourts, or since you've seen both transformations now, that's not the transformation for liner form. That's the transformation for climax form that they do in that movie. Except Ditto goes liner. But they tend to go back and forth on it too, and honestly, I'm fine with calling on both because who fucking cares? It's allowed to be your interpretation because final form is a fan term. Don't at me about this. I will throw Taka's tweets at you and just be like, look, see this clear explanation of what this is? Calm down. It ain't that big of a deal. But I
feel like the best way to kind of describe final form, in my opinion at least, is whatever is the culmination of their strongest form kind of deal.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why, like with O's, I'm like, that's a touchy one.
Yeah,
because by strongest form, I don't necessarily mean has the most power.
Yeah.
If has the most power coincides with that, like in Gaim's case, then so be it. But for the most part, it's more what has the story culminated to.
Yeah.
And that's one of those everything leading up to both forms for Den-O, I'm like, this is another one that is like, I don't know. The correct answer, I feel like, is just yes.
Yeah, that's how I feel too, of just Den-O, it's both, because they both serve different purposes in terms of what Den-O's story is telling us. And considering later media with Den-O says that all of the Imagin can do climax form together on their own, I don't see a reason for them to not coexist.
Yeah. And, I mean, in all seriousness, is there really that much of a difference in terms of power-wise for both of them? Because if you think about it, both forms are a culmination of all four Imagin.
Yeah.
Meaning they should technically be pretty equal.
Yeah.
In that kind of an aspect.
Although, well, it's technically a separate form, but Climax gets the edge because it does have Cho Climax that adds in Sieg from exactly one movie and a decade reference. and Liner doesn't get Sieg added to the Den Kamen Sword because we would have to make a new Den Kamen Sword to add Sieg to this.
True.
Yeah, these 4 episodes are fine. It's weird to not have like a bigger deal going into the final form debut, but I guess it's a case of Ryutaro has to train with Liner for a little bit to really make the most of it, because he does one finisher and goes, oh god, this sword is heavy. Oh god, I can't do anything.
But at least with Liner form, it is something he can actually train with. It's not a case of he just has to push himself physically. It's a case of, no, he can actually just, when he wants to, drop into this form and be like, okay.
Yeah, any other thoughts?
No.
Alright, then Thursday we start Resident Evil 1, which coincidentally Fortnite decided to add Jill and Chris into Fortnite today.
That's funny.
Last night. Although, here's the weird thing. Jill's costumes are her RE1 costume and then her RE3 remake costume. What do you think Chris's costumes would be?
You were actually talking to the wrong person on that, because I have not followed RE at all.
Okay. Well, you would think it would be RE1 and RE5, right? Because that he's in RE1 and then he's on RE5 on his own with a new partner for most of it. No, he has his RE5 costume and then his appearance in Resident Evil 8. Which, why? It's like the case with the Street Fighter costumes where, alright, this is all Street Fighter 2 themed, right? Except Ryu has a costume from Street Fighter 4, or no, Street Fighter 5, and then Chun-Li has a costume from Street Fighter Alpha. What? You're not even pulling from the same source. But yeah, we start that Thursday. Friday, we start the Metroid Prime. I got the tracker downloaded and downloaded a couple of extra trackers for use, because they also have an RE1 map tracker. I might be using that for the stream. They also had a Kingdom Hearts map tracker.
I don't think I've ever really booted the Kingdom Hearts map tracker one, because I mean I've done enough of them now that I kind of have it down pat. But Yeah, I did notice that one was in there.
And I preemptively downloaded the Prime 2 map tracker. Just gonna future-proof it.
I think I have looked at that one, and I didn't care for it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's one of those, I don't think it was as clear as it should have been. I'm gonna pull it back up and see, because if I'm not mistaken, that was the one I was like, I really don't like that. I feel like there should be a better one somewhere.
But that'll be Friday. Saturday, we do a thing, a multiplayer thing of some kind. And Sunday, we continue our look at Dino and get introduced our main villain, played by the actor who would go on to play Ultraman Orb. In a role more people would recognize him as.
I take that back. The map tracker for 2 is not the one I was thinking of. It must have been one of the others I was playing around with.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Because actually the one for 2 is in the same vein as how 1 is, so that should be plenty good enough.
And then I consider this tentative sometime around Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know if I'm going to tweet this on my personal account or do it on the TG Saloon account. I'm undecided on that, considering I can access both for this. I don't know. Which one do you think I should do it with?
I don't know.
Okay. I might do it on the TG Saloon account and retweet it on mine. Or no, I'll do it on mine and retweet it on the TG Saloon account. That way it's cross-promoted. But sometime around then, I'll be tweeting some screenshots and impressions of Super Robot Wars 30, since I like to not risk the stream, the Twitch, by playing that game on stream. I do not feel that confident, so I ain't gonna risk it.
Well, and plus I thought you weren't really wanting to do that as a stream game anyhow. Like, even excluding the fact of possible DCMA.
Yeah, there is the tactics gameplay, that's only like half of the game. There are also long stretches of visual novel dialogue boxes and stuff. So it's probably not the most interesting game to look at in a stream sense, unless you're commenting on the dialogue and stuff. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know most of the shit in this game to start with. I know Gridman. I know some of the things that are coming from like Super Robot Wars T, but only from what I saw in that game. So otherwise, I'm blind on everything fucking else. I don't know what a J-Decker is. I barely know what a Gundam is half the time. Especially in this case, because there is not a Gundam series in here I recognized in any degree. So, that is probably best left to someone who is more well-versed in any of these that aren't, like, 2. But yeah, look out for that on the Twitter. So, between now and then, if you like what you see, drop a follow. Really appreciate it. Chipping away that affiliate goal. At TG Soon on Twitter gets you updates when we go live. Next page, link Discord and chat. Gets you Discord drink. Drop by. Say hi. See you Thursday, folks.